All right. Well, I am going to go ahead and get started. So once again, thank you guys so much for coming to this chat and for coming to GERCON this year. Today, we're going to be talking about some mistakes, some entry-level pieces of how when you're not doing a good, thorough job and maybe kind of rushing into using specific tools in your environment, some mistakes can be made, like making the DMV go from being able to sign things automatically to completely being hand paper signatures for a day and a half. But let's go a little bit more further and we'll kind of go ahead and get started. So for all my Skyrim players, you know you can't skip this. We have to talk about this. It's who are you? Who am I? Why am I in front of you talking today? Now, the next slide obviously is the cookie cutter LinkedIn picture with my quick little bio, which I will not read to you. I'm going to assume that everyone here can find me on LinkedIn and I'll provide those links at the end as well. But a little bit of background, I've been in the military for over 17 years. I've worked both on the state cybersecurity team back in Arizona, the fintech sector with Wells Fargo, and currently on the federal side for cybersecurity. But that's not super important. I think the real important piece of when you're getting to hear these talkers, because you can go find this on my LinkedIn page or do some OSINT on me and find some more stuff. But here's the most important part. I'm a D&D dude. I like the DM. I like Critical Role. I am a father. I have 2 kiddos with a 3rd on the way. I like to scuba dive, Scuba Steve. I like to play World of Warcraft. For the Horde, if you're Alliance, I'm so sorry you chose the wrong side. I like to go to the gym. I like to stay fit and in shape. I obviously used to be a police officer. I did that for 7 years. I was with the city of Phoenix and I left as a vehicular crimes detective before I transitioned into cybersecurity, which we're going to be talking about a little bit briefly today. I love food. That is a Naruto ramen noodle reference for those that have watched the show of how he eats his ramen. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. Love to travel. That's a picture in Wiesbaden, Germany of a nice oversight. I jokingly always say I like to get my yearly photo with John Hammond, so that was roughly 2 years ago, but we'll have another photo here later in the side. Some more sugar and sweets because I like food. We are a Disney family. My wife has never gone to Disney before we started dating and got married, and now we go every year, and I did it to myself. That's a picture of my lovely wife and my 2 kiddos. I'm also known as Ginger Hacker or Ginger Ninja. We love to do hiking. That is a great picture of the Wave Cave if you ever make your way to Arizona, just a little bit west in Mesa. I work in a SOC, so the amazing meme of "this is fine" is my life. We deal with fires every day. And I'm currently still in the military as a warrant officer. So let's paint the scene. This was my first role outside of law enforcement. They gave me a senior title of never being a security analyst before. And I've never learned or used cyber tools in an actual environment. But what could go wrong? So when I left the city of Phoenix into my first position at the state, I had my Security Plus, I was going to school for my master's in cybersecurity, and I had charisma. Like many folks trying to break into the field, I was eager to learn. I was able to get myself a seat in an interview, and with my amazing charisma and my thrive and drive to learn, I was given my first chance with the state of Arizona Department of Homeland Security. Now, with this, there came a lot of learning curves. Obviously, I was a police officer. There's a lot of things that can kind of tie into that when it comes into report writing, standardized systematic detail, and kind of using the tools I had on the street, now using that onto a networking side of becoming a senior security analyst. But as I mentioned before, we're going to talk about today some phishing investigations and why it's important to maybe fully understand your DKIM, DMARC, and some other things within headers. So here's the educational piece before we get into the fun talk of how we made the DMV slower. What is a phishing email? A phishing email is a type of social engineering attack designed to trick recipients into receiving sensitive information, clicking on malicious links, or downloading harmful attachments. This is typically impersonating a trusted source, a bank, a coworker, a known company, to create a sense of urgency or legitimacy. Now, we're going to talk about, as I mentioned very quickly, kind of SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. I'm going to click through to kind of get these on the screens just so you guys can read. I'm going to be reading off some notes, though, so you kind of know where I'm pulling this from. So SPF, or Sender Policy Framework, imagine this as being a guest list. The domain, like school.com, makes a list of IP addresses, the mailmen, who are allowed to send emails and messages that show up on an email server and ask, is this mailman on this list? If yes, it passes. If it fails, this means it could be spoofed or incorrect. Now let's move to DKIM. DKIM, or did the principal actually sign this? This is domain keys and identified mail. This is a digital signature on each email, like a signature on the bottom of a letter. If it's encryption, to prove no one's messed with this message. The mail system checks the signature and using public records. If the signature matches and is authentic, it is approved. If it does not match, this means that someone could have changed this, and this should be a warning sign. Now, the DMARC, or domain-based messaging authentication, reporting, and confirmation, is what should we do if it fails. DMARC is like the school policy. It says if FPF and DKIM fail, here's what we should do to reject, quarantine, or allow, but report. It helps protection of domain reputation and tell email services how to handle suspicious messages. This is important, I promise. This isn't just going to be talking about headers. So, SPF headers, what does this mean? These emails are coming from mail servers that we are allowing or trust, like a trusted mailman. Why this matters is we want that sender to possibly be legit. We don't want this to be illegitimate and possibly have someone bad coming through our emails. Now, DKIM, what if that fails? If the email was changed after it was sent or a signature doesn't match what is real the sender could use. Why this matters is just like spotting a forged signature on a note, trying to get to that super cool field trip to a water park or an arcade in school, but your mom and dad don't want you to go. You're going to forge that signature so you can try to attend. That's important because we want to make sure we can see or how that's tampered with or fake. Now, DMARC, or what this means, is if that does not match up with our SPF or DKIM rules, what's the school going to say about it? What's the policy? Only this teacher can send this note, but someone else is trying. Why this? Why does that matter? If we don't trust something, we need to make sure we do a little bit more, maybe investigating to make sure we're seeing what's happening within the emails we're receiving or our policies. Now, I won't read through this entire thing, but obviously we all understand, or maybe those that don't, of social engineering red flags are some things you should be considerate about. We're going to talk about the high levels on the quick diamond. So who's it from? Do you know this sender? Has this someone that sent stuff before? The date. Is this sent from the early mornings at 1 o'clock in the morning where no one usually is online? Or maybe it's from another sender or maybe organization that does business at that time of day. The subject. Is there a quick, hurry, we need help now? Or maybe a subject that just kind of seems a little bit out of place. The to line. Are you the only recipient for sending this email? Or is this going to several other people within your organization that maybe usually wouldn't receive this email likely? Attachments is obviously another thing. Why are they sending? What are they attaching? Are you expecting any attachments on this email? Of course, hyperlinks. Why is there a hyperlink in this email? Where is it going to? Is it actually going to where it's saying it's going? And of course, the content of the email. So obviously, the spelling, the grammar, how it's stated and read, and understand where and how that's important. So let's talk about mistakes. As I mentioned, this is about the day that Andrew Crotty, the young senior security analyst, excitingly got his first role into cybersecurity and started protecting the state of Arizona. But some mistakes were made. Reviewing all the tools at my fingertips was like a fire hose. Many of us know that when you're first getting into the industry or you're onboarding a new analyst or engineer, if they've never done this before, there's going to be a lot of things they need to learn. So biting off a little bit more than I can chew was probably an understatement when it came from leaving law enforcement, breaking into cybersecurity. Onboarding and asking questions. Did I ask enough? So as you're kind of going through, there's a little bit of fear. You don't want to ask too many questions to your leadership or any kind of seniors because maybe there's going to be that fear that there's that imposter syndrome. You don't want them to think you don't know what you're talking about. Or there could be a little bit of a confidence ego where it's like, nope, I'm going to figure this out. I don't need help. I can do this on my own. Which I would 100% always tell people to ask questions if you have a question. It's not showing any type of weakness. It's actually showing that you're willing to learn and you're being slightly vulnerable to be teachable, to get through your organization and make sure you're doing the correct things to protect what they need protected. And of course, practice and make sure you're doing good full use cases of a task at hand. Did I do enough? Did I go through all the onboarding to the fullest? Was I skipping through PowerPoint slides? They gave me a dev environment, was actually in the dev environment practicing before I went on to the full production to actually push a update or actual work a real case. I have so many questions. As many of us do when we first get into that first role, if you can remember that time when you first jumped into cybersecurity. Now for this next one, I'm going to show you guys two different images. We're going to see a fake and a real DocuSign image. And you can either answer out loud, you can show of hands, but I'm going to show you two images and see what you guys think. So we have this picture right here on the left and this picture right here on the right. Who knows which one is fake and which one is real? Now, don't feel like you have to answer. This is a rhetorical question. Now, things we're going to be looking for, obviously, is, as this thing has encircled in red, where in view is this coming from for the document? Generic introduction, not using recipients' names. Incorrect grammar or spelling. And then the code is too short or maybe not a full hyperlink. Now, oddly enough, the image on the right, which is kind of blacked out, is an actual legitimate DocuSign. The one on the left was a spoofed one to be fake for obviously targeting credential harvesting or additionally malicious payloads that can be delivered. Now let's trust but verify, right? We need to still do a little bit more digging to make sure when we're doing our phishing investigations that these are actually legitimate emails or if these are things we should be seeing in our environment. So some mistakes that were made. We quickly reviewed the email relied on our GUI with our phishing platform. We didn't do enough digging. We didn't dive into the header, and we were really relying on the tool that the state had at the time, myself and my intern, to make our decision on if this email was malicious or not. Did we do enough OSINT? So as many blue teamers and even red teamers know, or our cyber threat analysts in the room, when we're provided IOCs, links, and other pieces of information, we need to do our homework. There's tons of different tools we can use out on open source world to find legitimacy of domains, URLs, and traffic that we're seeing within our organization. To include, for those that work in MSPs, understanding maybe what your clients are using on their network. Also looking for prevalence, as I just mentioned, to see if that traffic is normal. So is this traffic that an organization is currently and always seeing within their environment? Doing a 30 to 90-day search back likely would have prevented myself and my analysts from making a very grievously oopsie mistake that caused the DMV a little bit of downtime. And did we ask enough questions for quality assurance or quality checks from our engineers or the managers as we move through these detections? So myself and another intern took our experience of the great minds and we made the decision that, you know what, yep, this looks bad, this looks malicious, we need to make sure we're doing our due diligence. But do we need to go bug our engineers? Do we need to go talk to our manager? We had a little bit of high confidence rather than maybe trusting but verifying the stuff we were seeing. And as any email goes, we began to rabbit hole. And the whole what if scenario began happening. Man, what if this is credential harvesting? What if this is already activated on the DMV's users? So what did we do? We set in, we locked eyes, we looked, and we blocked it, baby. Boom. That email's not getting on the DMV site. Not at all. Because who wants DocuSign on a organization that's probably using it to, I don't know, sign documents, get people their driver's license, do registration? Yeah, it's not important. There's no way they use DocuSign. Important note, this was done on a Thursday at 4 p.m. But no worries, the DMV is saved thanks to the state. So we did it. We knocked in our first case, we did our report, we're like, yep, this is solid. Man, let's go home. We did a little fist bump. All right, man, I'll catch you in the morning. What could go wrong? Well, you can't fall for phishing attacks if you're never checking your emails. When DocuSign isn't blocked, when DocuSign is blocked, they're moving at a lot different pace. So let's fast forward now to the next day. Next day, 08, bright and early, show up to work, smile on the face, saying hi to everyone on my team. And I noticed there's a little bit of, we'll call it chaos, organized chaos. Like, man, like this is going on, there's an event going on. I'm like, oh man, what's happening? Well, DMV reaches out to my SOC manager that they are having issues with their DocuSign and it's not working and appears to be blocked. Now, it hasn't clicked to me yet, but I'm like, man, that's kind of odd. I literally just worked a phishing email yesterday referencing DocuSign. I wonder if that's related. Maybe the hackers got in. This is bad. So my SOC manager reaches out to do some troubleshooting. Hey, did their license expire? Are they using a bad link? Is it user error? Maybe there's something going on where they just can't access it, or maybe someone on their end blocked it. Pings me to see if I can jump in to kind of aid in on this investigation of why DocuSign isn't working. And it didn't probably hit me until 30 minutes in as I started kind of looking into the events that occurred yesterday to today's events of relying that I possibly just blocked DocuSign, which was a legitimate process the DMV was using. Oh, there was a lot of thoughts going through my mind. So, immediate fears. I'm going to read this meme because it's a little small, but it says, hey, Flash, I got a joke. Sure. What do you get when an analyst blocks DocuSign? I don't know. A fired analyst. There's a lot of concerns of where my future would be at the state after this horrific event occurred in my third month with the team. And there was a little bit of panicking. So I did what any analyst would do. I began to analyze and think of what my next processes would be. So my next choices. It was the intern. Blame the intern. What did the intern do now? Take the blame, but still blame the intern. And take responsibility and don't blame the intern at all. Now, if anyone picked anything other than E, you're going to be a great manager one day. All right, so what were some things that were important is always remember to take responsibility for this action. So to summarize the event at the end all be all of what we ended up doing to solve the problem, my manager, luckily enough, was very good friends with the CISO for the DMV. We explained the case of what happened and had some retraining I got to provide with the team, which we'll kind of go over here briefly on how there's some things that we call resume altering events that I turned into a positive light. But it was a quick understanding on the amount of actions and power that some tools analysts have and why sometimes some good checks and policies do need to be set in place. And when you're doing your onboarding and training across whatever level that you're going into, whether you're becoming a tier 2, going into IR, going into threat hunt, the importance is of understanding the tools that you have and what they do. And always blame the intern. So I call these my resume altering events that occurred. So I single-handedly made the NVD review their process for what happens when DocuSign goes down. Or spearheaded the process improvement at the motor vehicle division by initiating a review of incident response workflows after a legitimate DocuSign outage was misclassified as a phishing threat, leading to the development of a more resilient and accurate escalation path. I also got to recreate and update our SOP on phishing investigations for my team, or SOP creation. Or authored and implemented a standardized process procedure for phishing investigations, enhancing the consistency, speed, and accuracy of threat triage across the SOC team. I also got some amazing retraining for myself and the interns on how to use our phishing tool. Or led a targeted retraining initiative for team members and interns on the proper use of our phishing analysis platform, improving detection confidence and reducing investigation time through hands-on instruction and workflow optimization. You're welcome. Now, the next piece of this talk is going to kind of just go into a little bit of understanding some better resources that could be used if you're in this piece of breaking into cyber, or if you're trying to learn more about maybe any kind of blue team SOC tools, or even pen testing or CTI. So here are a few of my recommendations for some Discord groups that I think is a great way to kind of also get involved into the community. Not everyone is a chatty Cathy that likes to do call for papers and talk in front of people. So Discord communities can be a great way to still connect with the folks within the cybersecurity community. So from top to bottom, we have Anti-Siphon Training, Hack Smarter, Simply Cyber, Try Hack Me, the Ginger Hacker channel, and Noob Village. Now, some additional foundational and hands-on training, and we won't go too deep into these because some of these are very much common, I'm sure many of you guys have heard about. One would be Try Hack Me. They are best for, I think, blue team and red team intermediate skills. The thing I like about Try Hack Me is a lot of their training platforms, they have walkthroughs that either the community has solved or others have worked. And I always challenge people if they're first trying to break into cyber or they're trying to learn a new skill, there's no shame in pulling up the walkthrough to do a walk along, to kind of like, or a hack along, to learn those skills. And then once you feel confident enough, close the walkthrough, then just redo the room. You also have Hack the Box. Hack the Box is, I'd say, very much more known for a lot of their red team or OSCP prep. However, as of late, I've actually gotten access to their platform, and they have amazing Sherlock rooms, is what they're called, which are blue team oriented for cyber threat hunting, DFIR, SOC events, and they actually just did their first blue team CTF. We also have Blue Team Labs Online, which is another great hands-on lab simulation training you can use as well. This is more, and they also have some certifications that actually provide hands-on. It's a 24-hour exam, I believe, where you're actually working real cases and doing a case report to actually pass and get that certification, which is pretty awesome, I think. We also have Just Hacking training, which came out this year just by John Hammond and another few cohort of folks within the cybersecurity community. This has everything from CTFs, pen testing, blue team, OSINT, tons of different great training. There is a small paywall for some of the training as well. But as all these sites I've shown you, some of them do have free training tiers that you can leverage and get into. Pluralsight is very beginner friendly. I would mirror it to closely Udemy, but rather than having individuals or anyone here in the room that can make a class and post it on Udemy, Pluralsight has course instructors that are course led, that are in an industry or building these courses. Pluralsight does, I believe, you have to pay for the subscription to use the site, but I used it most of the time. Some organizations will have this on a training platform, which are great to use. And one of my all-time favorites, if you've never heard of anti-siphon training from Black Hills Labs, you definitely should. They have amazing training that has a pay-what-you-can methodology model. So they're tiered toward folks trying to break into cyber and also just other skill sets and levels. And they do a pay-what-you-can, so sometimes when they actually conduct their training, it will cost either $0 up to where you can donate $500. And the reason why they go up to so high of donations is because you're sponsoring that for additional folks. If you can afford the training and you want to keep what they're kind of doing up and alive, because obviously building out content and trying to make it affordable for anyone breaking into cybersecurity is very important. So in conclusion, I really appreciate you guys and gals coming out to this chat. I tell you all to keep learning, keep asking questions, keep networking, and being curious. Here is any of my connections if you'd like to connect, and thank you guys so much.